Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you're watching, whenever you're watching. My name is Lawrence, and Romy will be our moderator today. So, welcome to another lesson of the GNI Digital Growth Program. And in this lesson, we are going to talk about optimizing your digital assets. Now, who is this lesson for? It's for managers of traditional news publications or managers that are already using online for their content, but would like to know more and would like to optimize their digital assets. Now, the objective of this training is to take an in-depth look at the methods that newspapers are using to successfully become online publishers. So every lesson covers a different element. Any big news business must take notice of. And from things to be done before launch to shaping the value proposition, the pricing, the acquisition, and churn. Well, in each lesson, we break each lesson down into three key topics. So what, focus, and then what now? So the aim is to give you a clear, actionable instruction to help you and your news publication to become a commercial success online. Note, your asset is your product. And this lesson is about optimizing your digital assets, and it's part of the audience development track. There are many more tracks. Um, as you can see in the lesson plan for becoming a successful digital publisher online, there's business strategy, it's the first column. The second is audience development. Where this lesson sits, then we have data management, advertising revenue, and reader revenue. And today, in this lesson, we'll be discussing optimizing your digital assets. So, um, to get the most out of this training, we would like to show you the variety of options that are out there. But of course, it's up to you, your actions that you take. And these are all based on your context. It's about your audiences, your resources that are available to you, the different challenges that you might have. So we will show you case studies and actions and further resources, but these are all just suggestions. So what actions and next steps you decide to take are going to be different based on your needs, your experience, and your aims. So without any further ado, um, why does optimizing your digital assets matter? It's not just about great content. So modern digital readers, they have high user experience expectations as well. So it matters because there's the importance of the customer experience. So in addition to strategy and content, it's important to not to overlook the customer experience. And when we talk about experience, we're talking about an empowered reader who wants things fast, easy, and on their mobile phone. So remember that: fast, easy, and on their mobile phones. So our focus today, as said, there's always three topics within each lesson. And these three topics today are ranking and search, speed matters, and user interface. So first, we'll unpick the importance of structuring your site for search. Secondly, we'll consider the importance of speed online and think about ways you can improve it. And thirdly, it's about the user interface and how the look and feel of your site helps to give a better experience for your users. And we'll look at some of these 25 mobile design principles. Before we dive into the first topic, we would like to know who's on the live stream at this point. So please, if you would like to say your name, and if you do have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat right there. And Romeo and or I will be happy to help you and maybe point to other resources or answer your question. So please, if you do have anything you would like to add or ask, use the chat. Now, onto the first topic for today: search. There's a lot of things happening, obviously, and searches are happening every second across Google and other search engines. So let's look at the importance of ranking in search engine and search results. So there's something we have to explain first, and that's what I already just mentioned as a slip of the tongue. It's called SERP, SERP. It means search engine results page. That's the SERP. This is a visualization of the search engine results page, and it's the first page of Google. When someone goes to Google, look something up, this is the search engine results page, the SERP. There are 10 results for every question asked. So let's look more closely. It's made up of two sections, this page, and depending on the search type, you might see many different layouts. But the first is paid advertisements. These are the links. At the top of most search results are labeled ads. They are paid advertisements, usually take up the first positions. It could be anywhere up to the top 6. And then below are the organic results. Below them, we have what Google refers to as organic results, and these are not paid for. They are the answers which Google has decided are the best fit for the question that was asked, the query. Now, there are many factors that are important for ranking, especially in this organic um, section. And these ranking systems that Google has designed, they are designed to sort through hundreds of billions of web pages to find the most relevant, useful results in a fraction of a second and present them in a way that helps you find what you're looking for. So the following key factors help determine which results are returned for each query. It's the meaning of your query, the intent, as we say, behind your query. Understanding that is fundamentally about understanding language, and it's a critical aspect of search. Second is the relevance of web pages. Algorithms analyze the content of the web pages to assess whether the page contains information that might be relevant to the user and what the users are looking for. And third, it's ranking useful pages. So for a typical query, there are thousands, maybe even millions of pages, web pages that are potentially relevant. So to help rank the best pages first, Google wrote algorithms to evaluate how useful these pages are. So, and fourth factor is usability, and whether it means whether web pages are easy to use. And then fifth, context and settings, information such as location, past search history, search settings all help tailor your results to what is most useful and most relevant for the user. Now, if we look at Google's search index, it's important to be aware of the fact that Google returns pages from its index. So it's not directly from the web, but there's an index in between. Because Google continuously collects and stores information about web pages in the search index. And the index is like a library, except that it contains more info than all the world's libraries put together. When people search in Google, the results they get from the Google search index, they're not directly from the web, which would take too long in real time. So that's why it's important to fully understand how you might improve your rank in search results, as well as understand the ranking factors that Google is looking for. So again, be aware of this Google search index. Now, second topic of today, of this lesson, optimizing your digital assets, is that speed matters, or the quicker the page, the better its search ranking is. So slow loading pages is probably the number one reason why a publication loses readers. And Google acknowledges this. So over 50% of people abandon a page if it takes more than 3 seconds to load. 3 seconds. In June 2017, Google made its site speed a factor in its ranking. So in simple terms, the quicker the page, the better the ranking. Now, second thing, mobile is changing the world. So the Google algorithm is mobile first. Results are served based on the mobile ranking position. Today, just about everyone keeps a smartphone to hand, constantly communicating and looking for information. And in many countries, the number of smartphones has surpassed the number of personal computers. And having a mobile-friendly website has become a critical part of having an online presence. So be aware that Google takes a mobile-first approach. Search results are served based on their mobile ranking position. So that's an important factor as well. Now, over 50% of your users will abandon a page if it takes longer than 3 seconds to load. So with the decreasing patience of the part of readers, the speed of a page loading on your site is critical. I think I've emphasized this enough. So speed matters. Then there's AMP versus non-AMP, and I have to explain this 3-letter acronym. AMP stands for Accelerated Mobile Pages, and it's a web development framework that ensures web content is lean, quick to download, and fast to draw on screen. So when you implement AMP, accelerated mobile pages, you are creating a version of your site that will allow Google to present it faster to the user when tapped on a mobile search result page. And AMP pages can be monetized through ads the same way as the standard canonical version of your site. And when implementing AMP, it helps to make sure the content is as close as possible as the regular version of the article. So publishers such as Wired, The Atlantic, San Francisco Chronicle, the BBC are all using AMP stories in their publishing efforts. Let me tell you a bit about a case study from Condé Nast, one of the first publishers to implement AMP. 1 year after implementing these accelerated mobile pages on Vanity Fair, the click-through rate, CTR, on search results went from 5.9 to 10.3. In the average position in the search engine results page, the SERP, it went from 5.9 to 1.7. Almost 80% of its traffic in mobile came through AMP pages. So during the time, Condé Nast used the lessons learned on the Vanity Fair pilot to deploy accelerated mobile pages on another 14 brands. So quite impressive the results they got there for bringing their content as accelerated mobile pages as well. Now, there's another way of ensuring that a page loads fast and the speed is fast and speed matters is a progressive web application, PWA. They use modern web capabilities to deliver an app-like user experience, and they have evolved from pages in browser tabs to immersive top-level apps, maintaining the web's low friction at every moment. So it's still on the web, but it delivers an app-like user experience. These progressive web apps, they work everywhere, but they are supercharged in modern browsers. So progressive enhancement, according to the user platform, is a backbone of the model. Now, what impact did the PWA, the progressive web application, had in the news industry? So many have opted for this and engaging the readers and enhancing the customer experience. Modernizes, streamlines the need for websites in the native application, meaning there's often low resistance to change in many organizations because they're actually reducing the number of assets they need to look after, especially technically when designing interfaces and assets for your digital presence. This is where it actually reduced the number of assets. And as with any such change, you have to keep in mind the two E's of the customer engagement and customer experience. It's not about the background tech. So the change from mobile websites to progressive web apps will likely have a significant impact on the media and the news landscape. The RCS Media Group, they started out as Angelo Rizzoli's one-man printing shop in Milan in the early 1900s, so over 120 years ago. And today it's one of Europe's top multimedia groups, publishing newspapers, magazines, online content in Italy and Spain primarily. They have Corriere della Sera, La Gazzetta dello Sport, and El Mundo, Sport Week, and they had so many content assets online. The group knew that they could use accelerated mobile pages to engage readers with a faster, high-performing experience. The results were that they had a 98% rise in unique users month on month, almost 120% more page views, and 72% faster load times. Fabio Napoli, the head of Business Digital News, said, "We're still exploring the monetization approach to understand which ad formats are the most effective, and we're thinking about focusing future developments on both accelerated mobile pages and progressive web applications." Now, Financial Times, they went on to use progressive web applications as well, and they had these interesting results, like 75% faster loading with prefetch, 58% more conversions, and 2.3 times organic traffic, more than 2 times page views per session, doubled. So yes, they had many challenges, because these might seem like interesting results, and they are, but the challenges were they had the massive user influx through all their media publication houses, including the Financial Times, that's part of the Nikkei Inc. publisher group. It meant that users were looking to get into the website. However, the slow page load, a response time of more than 20 seconds, repelled most of them. And as you can see, after they've decided to use progressive web application, they had a 75% faster loading. So they're quite impressive after changing their technical strategy. So one of the first questions now to you is, how fast are you, and how can you find out? So obviously we are going to answer this question, but think about it. Is your website, your platform, is it fast enough? Are you offering a unique and a great user experiences, customer experiences? And is your web content optimized for mobile? So how fast are you? And again, if you want to answer or have any additional questions, please use the chat right there. And Romy and I will be happy to help or answer your questions. Now, if you want to know how you can find out how fast you are or how fast your content is, um, there are two options for getting up to speed, two activities. And one is to go to test my site, and Romy will put down the URL in the chat so you can use it after right away after this lesson has finished. Use Test My Site, easy way for businesses to measure their site's performance across devices, from mobile to desktop, and provide them with a list of specific fixes that can help their business content connect more quickly with people online. So Test My Site. Another option, another activity you can do to test and see how you stack up is Web Vitals. And it's an initiative by Google to provide unified guidance for quality signals that are essential to delivering a great user experience on the web. So you have two options. Test My Site is one of them, and the other one is Web Vitals, which you can find on web.dev/vitals. And Romy will be providing you with these links right there in the chat. So these are just two options for getting up to speed. Now, if you go into more depth, what results should you expect back from a Google Test My Site? It will tell you about mobile friendliness, about mobile speed, and about desktop speed. So as a publisher, we are not expecting you personally to be the one who is optimizing your site. But it may be useful to have this conversation with your development team. So you can do this test yourself and then use those results as a conversation piece. And to help this conversation, Google has put together some speed test tools, like I've just mentioned, Test My Site or Web Vitals. And for these three areas where it scores you, mobile friendliness, mobile speed, and desktop speed, you'll be scored out of 100 for each, with 100 being the best you could possibly score. So this might be a useful way of seeing where you currently are and what improvements can quickly be made, or what might take longer, but you find valuable enough to do as an activity to improve. Now, the Web Vitals gives you three other options, and there will be a specific lesson on Google Web Vitals, but to give you a short summary, Web Vitals is a performance report based on a set of common quality signals and that directly affect the user experience. And these are the three. It's called largest contentful paint, LCP, the first input delay, and third area is cumulative layout shift. And as I said, there will be a dedicated session on Web Vitals in the data management workshop as part of this G&I Digital Growth Program. So if you want to get into more depth on that one, please get yourself booked into that session for Web Vitals in the data management workshop. So The Sun is a newspaper website, and it was launched in 2016 in its current form. It was rapidly growing to become the largest digitally read news publication in the UK. The engineering team since then primary focus has been on building a product capable of keeping up with the demands of a busy newsroom. But when The Sun undertook an audit of its website, it showed that it needed to improve the performance of the website to provide a better user experience and to accelerate business on the mobile web. So it was aimed and focused around keeping up with the demands of a busy newsroom, but when they undertook a more of a technical audit of the website, it needed much improvement. So the web team collaborated with Google to achieve its performance metrics and deliver a better user experience across their web and mobile sites, which resulted in a 66% increase in organic search traffic and a 30% decrease in its bounce rate, which is fairly impressive, I would say. So um, that was the case by the Sun. The third and last topics of this lesson is the user interface. It's another important aspect to consider when optimizing your assets. It's the experience, the user experience, and that's the bigger part. But the aspect of it, one of the aspects of the user experience is the interface. And the interface is putting high, it's worth to put it high on the list of priorities for optimizing your site. So it's a good idea to be aware of the latest user experience trends and user interface trends. So the Drum is an annual award for publishers, has these trends online. It's worth checking out their website, especially their awards, thedrum.com/awards, and Romy might be able to put the link to the Drum Awards in the chat. Now, to pick just a few, there are 25 mobile design principles which you can and need to think about for your user interface. So 25 suggested principles, and we'll just pick a few. The homepage and the site navigation, which you can see here right on the bottom left. The homepage is what always attracts the visitor when it loads on the user screen, and serves as a welcome page and a message center. And on the mobile screen, it should ideally display the content the visitor is looking for. So any extra elements on the page would not only take time to load, but also look clumsy. So some tips you might want to consider there are: keep calls to action front and center, keep menus short and sweet, make it easy to get back to the homepage, and don't let promotions steal the show. Another one is site search, which is an internal site search engine, and it's useful for the website and especially for the mobile version too, because it supports visitors to find content by simply entering a keyword in the search field. Again, some tips here when it comes to site search: make site search visible, that a user knows always where and how to use search on the site. Ensure, obviously, that there are relevant search results when people do use that search. Implement filters to improve the site search usability and guide users to better search results. Well, these are just a few of the mobile user interface principles that you can take into account. And for each principle, there are a couple of tips which you can use or maybe discuss with your design and development team to optimize your user experience, especially when it comes to user interface. So yeah, feel free to use these and look them up and discuss with your team. Now, a case study by Pink News. It was a website which was last redesigned in 2015. So by 2019, it was looking a bit out of date. And Pink News wanted a redesign that would be bright, vibrant, and a way of showcasing the breadth of their content. It was also important for them to reflect the evolution in their offering with strong ways of highlighting their original video content. So the redesign for Pink News, which won an award for Best News Website Design in 2020, the redesign encompassed a redesign on desktop, mobile, and Google Accelerated Mobile pages and Facebook Instant Article layouts of the site. So they changed the look and feel and re-platformed the entire site, and importing all existing articles into a fresh, customized version of WordPress. You might be using WordPress as well as a content management system. So by doing this, by re-platforming, this sped up page loads from a user perspective and significantly improved the efficiency of content production. So they did a redesign of the desktop, the mobile web, the Google Accelerated Mobile pages, and the Facebook Instant Article layouts, and they all re-platformed it to WordPress. And it won them the Best News Website Design of 2020. Another case study, another award-winning case study, was a best relaunch of the year 2020 for ITV News. ITV News wanted to reach young digital audiences with trusted news, and it's a challenge that is being faced by many public service broadcasters on television and digital. ITV News' response to this challenge was to create The Rundown. It was an entirely new and innovative digital news service aimed at 14 to 70-year-olds, published daily on social platforms. So if you're looking to do something new and innovative, or what others have been doing, especially in this public service broadcast area, look at ITV News and what they've done 2 years ago. Another is Sky News, which got an award for App of the Year 2020. They broke new ground in 2019 by adding an array in new storytelling tools to its app. So let's look into a few of them. Employing a dedicated graphic designer and data journalist, it meant they could add context and variation to the stories. It created a home for podcast series called Storycast. And they did a shorthand publishing system created in themselves that meant it could merge text, video, stills, and design in ways the industry hadn't seen before. This was 2020. Throughout, Sky News held true to two defining principles: a commitment to video, key moments cut quickly, live stream embedded, and an unfailing commitment to the content, telling stories in the best way it possibly can. So again, it's good to keep in mind that you need your principles as well as optimizing your digital assets for speed and for user experience. Um, and I think that was the wrong slide. This is Expressen. It's a Swedish evening newspaper. It was founded in 1944. Its symbol is a wasp, and one of its slogans is "It stings." Well, in January 2016, Expressen launched a new sports app to reach sports enthusiasts directly and to better optimize the app for sports content. And one of the first things they did is to analyze users' behavior by looking at user paths in existing sports content, combined with user research, and testing various prototypes with real users. And they found that readers have different needs and preferences. For example, some people like a specific sport, a league, or a player that others have no interest in. So, with these results and insights, Expression introduced a new onboarding flow that allows users to select the type of push notifications they want to subscribe to. They implemented contextual navigation, where the top header navigation links change, showing the most relevant links to the reader at that moment in time. For example, if you're reading about football, relevant links about that sport are being displayed. So the results were that after the new release of the app, they had a higher opt-in rate for push notifications, around 17% on the up, compared to the main app, and the content consumption increased by about 7% for page views and 8.3% for video views, just for looking at these user paths and user behaviors and user needs. So that's a good one if you want to optimize your digital assets. So the big question here is, have you thought about your user interface, your UI? And you might have questions yourself. So this is a question we would like to ask you. Have you thought about your UI and maybe where you can optimize it? I'll look at your questions if there are any. And one of them might be, which is your favorite online magazine and why? And that's a good question, because I think I have many, and I need to choose one of them. So let me get back to you. Let me first point you to something else, and then I might be able to answer that question. Another question is that I get is, can you please everyone with the UI? And I think, well, maybe it's hard to please everyone with the UI, but taking a page from the Expressen research, the Swedish newspaper, evening newspaper, I think what you could do is start with your current audience or the audience you're trying to reach, and do research on the kind of apps and websites these audiences visit very regularly, that are popular within these different demographics, these different users, and you get a sense of what kind of UIs they're used to. And again, it doesn't mean you have to design your UI in the same way, but you can take that as a starting point and as a reference, a point of reference, because you know that your users are familiar with these kinds of interfaces. So it would be smart to take that into account when designing your own user interface. And if you think about your own brand, your own goals, and your own key performance indicators, you could put those all into the mix, where a great team of UX designers, user interface designers, maybe strategists, maybe people who do marketing, who do customer contact, they could all chip in, give their insights, and together with a good UX designer and UX researcher in the lead, you could come up with, I think, a user interface that can satisfy the users that you are willing and wanting to serve, that are your primary audiences. So yes, I think you can, but everyone is obviously a bit of a subjective phase. Now let's head into the last few slides. Um, so user experience design, if you want to know more about that, and by the way, it was a great question. Can you please everyone with UI, with the user interface, or the same user interface? If you want to know more on this topic, head over to thinkwithgoogle.com and Romy will put the link in the chat. If you want to have more marketing resources or design resources on user experience and user experience design, and it might give you some more inspiration, some more best practices, and even some practical tips if you want to know more. Now, in this lesson, we've covered 3 different topics and actions. One is ranking in search, what you can do to get your content high up in the organic results. 2 is speed matters. We've seen 2 activities and tools you can use like Web Vitals to see how your site is performing on a technical level with page loads, page speeds, and those reports can serve as a conversation piece with your design and development team if you're not the one who's designing or developing the content management system or your website. And thirdly, we've looked at the user interface and picked out some of the mobile design principles, which are obviously important when you are optimizing your digital assets to keep in mind to please the user, to rank in search so they can find you, to make sure that you're fast so they will see your content and consume it right away as users have come to expect. And thirdly, that the user interface doesn't sit in the way of getting the content your audience wants. And that's addressed by having a good user interface and think about the user experience. Now, what we've done here over these last well over 30 minutes is show you case studies and activities you could and actions you could take. Now it's that time to ask questions. So we are wondering what your questions are based on these 3 topics which we covered today. So search results, search ranking, page speeds, and user experience and user interfaces. Maybe you do have some questions, so I'll be looking at the chat and see if there are any. And meanwhile, I'm going to think about the favorite online magazine I have and why. And I must admit that one of my most beloved magazines is also online. Obviously, is Wired magazine, but I'm still a print subscriber. Although I do check out a lot of their articles online because they get published. Some of them get published earlier than I do get them when the print issue arrives. So I would say Wired magazine is a favorite magazine that I read, but I also read The Economist. And some Dutch magazine, which is a language I'm also able to read. When it comes to online magazines, I'm not sure if I do have a favorite. It's a bit of a tough question, and you need to give me some more time to think about it. But there is a magazine. It's called Are We Europe? And it has different articles from young journalists, which I really appreciate because their form is quite innovative, but also the way they commission stories and articles and podcasts and interactives, long reads they have. So Are We Europe? That might be maybe one of my favorites. Yeah. So if there aren't any other questions at this point, I would like to show you that there are different places and times where you can go to when you maybe a new question arises after this lesson. So first of all, we have a more bigger lesson plan where this is just one of the lessons today, optimizing your digital assets, which is in the audience development thread, the second column on the left. But after this lesson, then advertising revenue, and then especially establishing your advertising strategy might be a lesson that is related to this one. So take a look at all the workshops we have in this lesson plan from the G&I Digital Growth Program, and there might be some others that can help you out on different questions. When it comes to say page speeds and web vitals, we have a specific lesson, as you can see in the data management thread, the middle column, bottom, it says web vitals, and we'll go into more depth on all the different items that web vitals assesses and analyzes from your online content. Now, so besides this lesson plan, there are deep dives, labs, where you can get more training, more insights, more tips, and ask questions. Ask further questions during the deep dives. They're every Friday, and you can sign up via the same website where you sign up for this lesson. There are labs, other training labs that we run, and you can visit via the GNI website. And lastly, of course, we value your feedback. So it's important to us, and this is how we can evolve and improve our support. So Romy will be putting the link to the feedback form in the chat, and if you would be so kind to give us your feedback, we'll be able to help the next audiences after you. So if there aren't any questions or comments left, and I'm looking at them right now, then I would like to say thank you for attending this lesson, and we'll hope to see you at any other opportunity where you can get more inspired or get insights, best practices or tips on how to become a successful digital publisher online. I am Lawrence, and this was Romy in the chat. Thank you, and bye.